Today we're going to talk about the pros and cons of physical versus digital.
Hentai.
No, Tina, video games.
Tentacles. Boobs.
Rob, I don't know what this episode is about, but could you tell me about Mighty Number 9?
I would love to talk about...
I'm going to cut you off right there because you go on forever when you talk about 99. We're going to talk about digital versus physical in the video games.
Wait, like...
Whoa,
okay,
whoa.
okay.
In video games. Not porn. Weirdos.
Where did Tina go immediately?
I was like, hentai, tentacles, what?
Mighty Number 9, no! All this...
Tentacles?
No.
All right, so no, we're going to stick to video games
That's why the
because
box is so big.
we can't just talk about comic books because that's a whole different thing, and movies, that's a whole different thing. So let's stick to video games.
All right.
Rob?
So digital versus physical. This has become an issue more recently in the aughts years. As originally, when you purchased games, it was only you had to go to Sears, Children's Palace, Service Merchandise.
Say it.
We're going back in the day, huh?
Or
Babbage's, America's Computer Software Quarters.
Nothing but bad bitches in here tonight. Bad bitches only.
Bad bitches who I fuck with. I like bad bitches cause they like bad bitches too.
As time progressed, we got this concept of digital download stores, such as Steam, such as PlayStation Store, such as Microsoft Xbox Store, where you could sit at home on your Hillary Duff and have these games delivered to you digitally.
I love my Steam sales. I'm sorry.
and these games would be full complete game, and you didn't have to get up and do anything. You know, it took a little longer to pull these things down, but they were ready for you. As technology progressed, you could pre-download the games where the game was sitting in your hard drive waiting for you to unlock. One of my earliest instances of a digital game was Half-Life 2. Like, I'm not normally a PC game player, but like this game, you sort of get a physical copy, but mainly it was digitally distributed. The full thing was downloaded several gigabytes, and it didn't unlock until like 3 a.m. The concept of physical games versus digital games changed the landscape of how I purchase games. Because normally, typically, as a collector, I like to have a physical thing in my hand. There's value to having a physical thing. I can trade my games with people. I can sell my games. You can't really actually do that very well in a digital storefront. They stay on your system. Like PlayStation has a concept where you can share games with like 5 people. I think we do that where we have a couple
Like
of
a
games.
gifting system too with Steam.
Well, it's like in the Xbox, you can share it up to 4 people, but you can't play it at the same time. So if you bought like a copy of Halo 4 and you bought one, and you shared it within your 2 Xboxes, you couldn't be playing it at the same time because that's kind of like cheating the system.
Stealing, right.
So they figured out a way to do it. It used to be like you couldn't put it on any system, but now you can put it up to 4 or 5.
Yeah, I think it's 5.
PlayStation has a very similar thing with the PlayStation digital downloads. Don't know Nintendo what they're doing, but
Nintendo has only very, very recently announced that they are offering a Netflix-esque type service, like $20.
Yeah, you told us about it.
Yeah.
$20 a year, right?
Yeah, $20 a year, and that'll be neat. But that's still like okay.
But those aren't really yours, though, if I remember correctly.
So as
it's
long
sort of like
as the subscription, they changed. Originally, it was like okay, you're going to get Mario for a month, and then it'll be deleted off your drive or whatever. That's not the case now. It's now like you get to keep it as long as you have a subscription. But
it's like the PlayStation Plus, like with the downloadable, like free games that you get with the PlayStation Plus. As soon as your subscription ends, those are gone.
That's right. So
they're still on your hard drive. You just can't access them.
Yeah, that's right.
Which leads to one of my biggest gripes about digital gaming is there are certain games that you can't access unless you sign into the PlayStation Store. One of them being the Capcom Magic Sword and Final Fight.
Okay.
So the only way you can access that is you have to be online, right? And you have to go through the PlayStation, sign in, and then log into it. If, like, for some reason your internet goes down and you're trying to play it, you can't.
That's exactly right.
So that is what aggravates me about digital format. Some games require you to log into PlayStation or Xbox Live.
So it's the equivalent of DRM.
Yes, that's
Pretty
exactly
much,
what
yeah.
it is.
But
That's
I
exactly
think
what it
it's
is.
a rarity, which is nice.
It is, but if
It-
they start going that route, that really pisses me off.
In the early days-
because that is my game. I should be fucking able to play it wherever the fuck I want to, right?
On a plane
So you
or
can tell
whatever.
that I'm a little upset about this because that's what aggravates me. Like with a physical
If
game.
I've carried my 30-inch TV onto a plane, I ought to be able to play this damn game.
Well,
What's
no.
your-
If I bought it physically, I could put it into whatever system or whatever system is meant
But
for.
Why
Stick
won't
it-
this fit in my NES?
So yeah, you're absolutely right, and this has been an issue. Like in the early days of Steam, like you had to be online, it had to do its authentication with some server, and then you could play it offline for a time. But then after a while, it would have to re-authenticate after a while. So people immediately were like, "What if I'm on a plane and want to play Half-Life, or what if I, whatever? What if my internet's down?"
Me and my first world problems. What if I'm at my lake house and I want to play Half-Life? Right. I sound like a douchebag, but it's.
Yeah, that's a real
That's
thing.
actually something he said 3
I
days
do.
ago.
I said that. I want to play Magic Sword right the fuck now at my other house.
So though that's actually a thing. Like when these situations come up, like okay, do I going to buy this digitally for the convenience of it's always going to be with me wherever I go, or am I going to buy a physical copy? So my 3DS, I mainly focus on buying games physically, so I have the cart with me. But carts are small, they get lost, but again, there's value in trading and selling, what have you. But my 3DS has, I'd say 100 games on it. They're all digital. There's Game Boy games, NES games, Game Boy Advance games, a whole bunch of things I've accumulated over the while. And Nintendo's particularly weak about their online presence. Xbox is things like if you get a new Xbox, when you sign in with your new Xbox, everything comes down. That's actually really convenient versus grabbing like how many shelves and shelves and shelves of disc games do you have, right?
Besides hooking your DS up to your old DS and transferring the data over with crossing your fucking fingers that every game comes over, including all the downloadable songs that you did on Theater Rhythm and things like that. So, yes, Nintendo is kind of ass backwards when it comes to the digital age.
And if I lose that 3DS, and unfortunately this has happened to our family, we have lost a 3DS. Everything on the 3DS, gone. Sometimes you can call Nintendo and they might let you re-download some things, but like Microsoft and Sony have got it down. Like things are tied to your name and your account.
Right, your account.
Nintendo is tied to your hardware. Now, hopefully with the Switch, they are fixing this where things are actually tied to an account like everybody else does on the planet. Mario Kart is something that you can play 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and if it's already on the Switch, I don't have to worry about losing cards or switching things out. It's just there perpetually. I think that's a great advantage of digital games versus physical games. Now, you also have a lot of the same systems that I have. What do you mainly lean toward?
Oh, it's always physical. Like, if there is a physical copy of a game or digital copy, I always go for physical. Unless I'm given the... Like, when I bought my PlayStation 4, I got the Uncharted collection for free, right? So, of course, I'm going to download that and keep... Or the Halo Master Chief collection.
Same thing with me, Halo Master Chief
Xbox
Collection
One.
and Assassin's Creed.
So, unless I get it free, it's always physical because it's usually the same price. Every once in a while, you'll see the PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live have a sale like 50% off. You don't really see that much of a sale, such a big discount with the physical media. It's usually the digital media has a big chunk of a sale.
But
Now, I
after
know-
a while, after the release, and it does take a while for that discount to drop in.
Yeah. Now, I will say that physical media is still bigger in Japan. Because there is a game that's coming out for this that I almost bought the Switch for because I couldn't get the Master Edition of Zelda. I Am Setsuna.
Yes.
Has a physical release in Japan, but it's only digital in America. But the Japanese release, it has the English
That's right.
translation in it. And I know that the Switch is also region free. So I was like, I really want to import this, but I'm going to wait for a sale.
Right,
Because
so-
I don't want to download it digitally, because I really want to own a physical copy of that game.
And
Because it is the Chrono Trigger, like...
it's a Chrono Trigger style of battle and
Yeah,
something like
it
that.
looks
Yeah.
beautiful. I haven't played it yet, but I'm waiting
it's-
for physical.
For this iteration, Nintendo's done a pretty good job of making games like because it's region free. Like, yes, I can download something. If I download I Am Setsuna for the Japanese version, and then later on in English language or English voice acting was added, I would just hit update, and all of a sudden I have English. So that's really nice. But like you said, some of these games, and I know you were going to talk about Steam, so I don't want to.
Oh no, go right ahead,
But-
because I was gonna say, like, I'm also a physical. Like, if it's a physical media, I will buy it. Typically, I don't do the collector versions, but I will go and find them used because they're cheaper that way sometimes, especially when they're newer. So you can go out, get somebody who just plows through these games and then they turn it in to get the next best thing. I'll go buy a used copy because it's cheaper instead of waiting for the digital to go down like a month later because I want to play it now.
Now, also, you were about to touch on Steam, because even though we say normally, like, physical games don't go down there very often, the Steam sale is in there.
Crazy. It is crazy. So in the summertime, and then they also have the Christmas sale, like they mark these things down like to $1. You can get, this bundle for like $5, and it has 5, essentially great games with it. And then you also have these bundle buys where you can basically purchase a bundle of 5 games for like $1. And I mean, I don't see how they're paying any of these companies anything to bundle this up and sell it.
Yeah. So this also leads me to talk about Nintendo versus like Apple, Nintendo versus like Steam. Nintendo very rarely, as I think we had touched on, very rarely brings the cost of brings a sale on their digital games. They value the cost. They value the idea that a game needs to cost more than 99 cents. Now I know you have a bunch of games that you have on your devices. What's your average price range for things that you purchase your games on your iOS devices?
Well, I mean, I might not be the right market for that if you're looking at a general iOS type gamer, because the games that I buy are generally more expensive because I don't mind to spend money on games. So I would say probably $5 to $10. But
Yeah.
I mean, which is still very little compared to console games, but it's a lot more than the average price.
I would not
of
pay $5
of an
for
iOS game.
I paid $15 for the Final Fantasy VI iOS version, and it was horrible because I'm not used to playing on it. I need a physical. That's another thing too. When playing with something like that, I need a physical controller. Yes, I need something like this.
That is the 8-bit DOE physical controller. It has Bluetooth, works with the Switch, works with Mac, iOS, Android, and iOS.
Your iPhone.
Yes.
I didn't know they made those, Rob.
Oh, yes. And it works with a RetroPod.
And it works with Dan. No, nothing. Go ahead.
He just discovered it.
So,
Manifest Destiny.
You like physical games, right?
I do actually like physical games, but I love my Steam because a lot of the games I can't get physical, I get on Steam.
There is a small little publishing company called Limited Run Games, and they started doing this thing. They're one of my favorite companies. So this game right here, Dragon Fantasy, and this other game, these are the only two because they're so limited that they sell out within a day. Within a day that they release these games. These games are downloadable games that come out first. And usually about a month or two later, this little company releases about 3,000 copies on the PlayStation 4, PS Vita, I think that's all they do, of said downloadable game. They release a physical copy. So I got really excited about this because there are some really... And there's a great upcoming game, Wonder Boy 3 Dragon Trap that's coming out from Limited Run.
Land, but
you go to hell with your Monster Land. So there are huge games like that are coming out, limited to 3,000. So they know what they're doing. They're 3,000 and that's it. They won't make any more. So they're making enough money from people like us that are collectors.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. And some of these games, like Dragon Fantasy, it was done by a bunch of guys in a garage, and it's just a small little release that it would cost so much money to release it physical. It's much cheaper to have it released digitally. Same thing with I Am Setsuna. Like, only 5 people are going to buy this game in the United States. So it's much cheaper just to say, hey, you guys wanted it, here it is digitally, rather than come up with a physical release. So I also have a conundrum with things like Marvel versus Capcom 2. Now, this was some bull crap. I got super excited about a physical release of Marvel vs. Capcom 2. This game was super hard to find on the PlayStation 2.
PlayStation 2 was worth about $100.
Yeah.
No, we'll get to that in a second.
Let's talk about games getting pulled. So Marvel vs. Capcom 2 came out on the PlayStation 2. It was very hard to find, very rare. So Capcom's like, oh, we're going to release it on PS3. Ooh, we get excited. Except, no, they're not. They're releasing it digital, but then we're like, oh, we can get the
GameStop exclusive,
GameStop
baby!
exclusive. This says on here, if we want to zoom in, not a game disc, game download voucher included. And
so when I bought that,
we bought
it was a voucher code.
It is a voucher code. It is not the actual game. They did the same thing with
raging? Were you like, oh!
They did the same. Wayward Games did the same thing with DuckTales.
DuckTales Master was the same thing. Like, you got a box, but not like the game. Like, what a scam.
So Tina, you mentioned games being pulled from
right. Wasn't Skullgirls pulled?
There were a few. We went through them a little bit earlier. Like Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2 got pulled. Games that you could have a physical release of. But the one that hurt the most for me...
Can you explain to me what getting pulled means?
Somebody lost the rights to the Marvel characters, right? Activision had the rights to the Marvel characters. And when they lost the rights, they were like, okay, time to pull it from our store.
So you were
from
not
the Xbox store, from PlayStation store.
You were not able to download, like, any of the X-Men, like X-Men Destiny, there's some Spider-Man games, Deadpool games, and Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2, which is actually a pretty legit game. Like,
you were okay if you had bought it, right?
It
but the problem
pulled
was
from your
if your
system.
Xbox got fried and you went to your history and was like, oh, I need this game again, I'll re-download it. You can't.
Got it.
yeah,
And unless you had a physical
some of
copy.
you can, some of you can't read.
So the big one for me was Alan Wake. They just recently pulled this from the downloadable, and this is one of the best games I've ever played on my Xbox.
Remedy developer.
360. Yeah. It didn't get a lot of love when it first came out, but I think it was one of the best underrated games ever, and it got pulled. So you can't download it anymore. The only way to purchase it is to actually find a physical copy.
And as you might guess, the physical copies of those things have
That's
shot
the
way up.
limited
And
edition one.
the problem with this
I thought
game,
it was
it was.
too.
Well, I mean, it's about a disgruntled writer. It's actually legitimate.
It is one
It's
of
a
the
great
best
game.
horror games I've ever played.
It's a great game.
Right, so Amazon had it. Speaking of, just to step aside, and I was always worried about this happening with the Gameverse, is that, like you said, it gets pulled from your system. So, conversely enough, 1984, one of the publishers who released 1984, the novel, once it was downloaded onto your Amazon Kindles and stuff, they were like, you know what, something's wrong with this or whatever, we're gonna yank it from all these people's Kindles when they go to connect, and it's not going to be there anymore. I'm so worried about that being a case in the future because someone's lost a license, they just don't want it on there, it's problematic for some reason or another. So it's very hesitant for me to be like, I'm going to put all my stock in digital.
So, talking about games potentially getting deleted.
Right.
There's this game on the PlayStation 4 called PT. This is Hideo Kojima's Silent Hill-ish type scary game. We didn't know it was Silent Hill at the time, but it's super scary, freaky
With
out.
Daryl.
With Daryl from Norman Reedus from Walking
No,
Dead.
Daryl, not Norman Reedus.
You should be impressed that I could even say Norman Reedus.
All right,
Anyway,
go
so this game was like Hideo Kojima still worked at Konami, and he was like, check out this game, PT. I forget what PT actually stands for.
Part-timer?
Part-timer teaser, something.
Physical
whatever.
therapy.
So this game came out, everyone downloaded it, and it was great. Like, I made you all play this right now, you would be freaked out. So, great. All of a sudden, Kojima leaves Konami, and all of a sudden, they're like, we're going to pull this game. So, everyone who downloaded PT to their PlayStation 4, like, they couldn't, like, it wasn't one of those things where you can re-download later. Like, I think if you already have Alan Wake, you can re-download again if something happened. PT is gone unless you go through crazy hacking and slashing and changing. So people were putting their PlayStation 4s on like eBay, like, oh, my PlayStation 4 has PT on it, and selling it for $1,000 because the PT demo, which you can't get anymore, the teaser, is great. The ultimate thing of why I like to stick with physical copies is I know that my system down the road, 10 years, 20 years, whatever, I'm not going to worry about like hard drives getting dissipated or authentication servers going out. I know that I can plug in this card into my old CRT TV and it's going to play. My kids are going to be able to enjoy like ActRaiser, and
After you blow on it several times.
after I do the official Nintendo blowjob, this stuff is going to work. And I think that's super important. As a collector and a retro gamer, I want my games to be able to last. And there's the value of having a physical thing that can sit on the shelf and last through the ages and be able to be played again. As time progresses, when the kids get older, I think it's super important. So that's my argument why I believe physical media is better than digital media for video games. So tell me, am I right? Am I wrong? What are you buying your upcoming games on? Are you buying them physically? Do you care about the collector's value? Do you care about the convenience of digital? Let us know in the comments below. Please like, subscribe. Thank you very much.
As I drove by, the sign said tacos y tatas, but it said tacos y tortas.
Why? Now is the perfect opportunity to open up a dream restaurant, Tacos y Tatas.
The problem is until you realize that. Wait, hang on. Tacos
Tacos is also.